Hello!
Hello!
How cheap can you sail the Caribbean? Our answer is very, and here's how. This is Rick and Emma. We spent 4 months sailing 2,000 nautical miles from Grenada to the Bahamas on a 29-foot sailboat, all on a shoestring budget. We had the time of our lives. We bought the boat, sailed the dream, and sold it after. No lifetime savings, just a plan, some grit, a bit of luck, and a love for adventure. In this video, we break down exactly what it cost us, what worked, what didn't, and how can you do it too, without draining your savings. If you've ever dreamed of ditching the 9 to 5 for crystal clear water, island sunsets, and some adventure, this might be the nudge you've been waiting for. We're talking real numbers: lifestyle, cheapest ways to cruise, fuel and water refills, anchorages, marinas, best route, insurance, and our biggest lessons learned. So grab a drink, get comfy, and let's get into the salty details of budget sailing the Caribbean.
We actually took 4 months and 2 days for this trip. That means we spent 82 days of sailing of 124. So the 66% of the time we spent sailing. And 1 out of 3 days we were resting, which for us, it was perfect because we like this rhythm, but someone else who wants to do it slower might take more time. That was our pace, so that you get an idea.
We visited a total of 12 countries.
Well, some of the islands belong to the same countries like France or the Netherlands. So you are visiting new islands and new cultures, but they belong to the same one. So basically we did Grenada,
St. Vincent and the Grenadines,
St. Lucia,
Martinique, which is part of France,
Dominica,
Guadeloupe, which is also part of France,
Antigua and Barbuda,
St. Kitts and Nevis,
Saint Eustatius, which is part of the Netherlands,
St. Martin, which is part of France,
St. Martin, which is the same island, but it's split into two and it's part of the Netherlands.
the British Virgin Islands, which is part of the UK,
The US Virgin Islands, which belong to the US,
Puerto Rico, which also is the US in some way,
Dominican Republic,
Turks and Caicos, which is part of the UK,
and the Bahamas. It's nice if you're looking to check many countries on your world list, because in a little space you find many.
1,953 nautical miles.
That's how many miles we covered in the duration of 4 months. We did it in a Jeanneau Brin de Folie, which is a French boat built in 1975 that is 29.5 feet or 9 meters. So the boat was almost 50 years old.
According to our GPX from No Foreign Land, we did 1,953 nautical miles, which puts us at 3 nautical miles per hour average speed, what would be on land 5.5 kilometers per hour.
Our favorite places were to sail. So we don't like big islands. We like smaller, tiny little islands where you can sail in
Sometimes
between.
big islands were also nice.
That's true.
But the favorite places are small islands.
Yes. They are,
Number 3.
the Grenadines, which is the islands that are south of St. Vincent, and it's a country called St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and they're awesome. Their local people are super nice. There's culture.
Not so many Americans.
It's probably cheaper to charter a boat there.
I don't know if you can charter a boat there.
There's green, lush mountains, steep mountains, and turquoise water.
Number 2.
We also like the BBIs because, again, it's a group of over 50 islands that you can sail to and from. You're protected from the bigger waves, but you have good wind. They're gorgeous. The only thing is it's probably more expensive to charter there because it's very popular. And then third area where I'd go would be the Bahamas, specifically the Exumas, because those are also tiny little islands one next to the other. The water's turquoise. There's so many animals. It's gorgeous, and those were our 3 areas if you just want to go for a couple weeks Caribbean trip and you already know how to sail.
To buy the smallest boat you're comfortable with. Don't buy a big boat. Small boat.
Yeah. This is something we did because it was cheap, but in reality it was the best for many reasons.
Because it's cheaper to maintain.
You will fit in most places. If you would have to pay for docking, it'd be cheaper too. We only see good points about buying a smaller boat.
Let's work.
If you go to the Caribbean on the right season, which is when there's no hurricanes, The weather is very predictable and you're not gonna find like huge, I mean, waves sometimes were bigger, but nothing that you cannot do with a 30-footer, which is what we had.
We learned a lesson that the itinerary we chose, even though we didn't know, was the perfect one for novice sailors, because you start small with like small crossings of half a day, and in the very end, they get bigger and bigger, and yeah, it's like a natural progression through the trip.
We had a night sailing. You could like do all the first 30 days of the trip without any overnights. And then the first one came when we had to cross to the BBIs, which was already a month and a half in or a month in. And by then we already felt confident and it felt very natural. And that was just one night. And then later on, we had to spend longer in the crossings, and we also had the wind always in the back. Not always, sorry, at the beginning from the side and then in the back, because the trade winds always come usually from the same direction, so we never had to go against the wind. Sometimes, but very seldom. So that was very comfortable too.
How much money did we spend?
One disclaimer is that we bought the boat and sold the boat. So the boat itself is a zero expense. We evened it out, and it's not part of our expenses. The total amount of money we spent in 4 months sailing the Caribbean, 2 people, is
$14,000.
That's not bad.
Because was that per month per person?
If you divide it per month, is around $3,500 per month for 2 people. And if you divide that per person, it's $1,750 per month per person. And that includes gas for the boat, immigration fees, communication, restaurants, boat registration, insurance, marinas, SIM cards, food. It's mostly food, honestly. Health, boat parts. We spent 2 weeks fixing the boat. The trip is only 4 months, but before that, we spent 2 weeks buying the boat and fixing the boat. That is not accounted in the sailing time, but it is accounted in the expenses. That includes the mini fridge, which was super expensive because we had to buy it in Grenada. It was like $400. With the help of a local friend, major thank you for helping us sew and build the bimini.
What did we spend? Like $100 on the dinghy engine and something similar on the dinghy. And yeah. I mean, it was crap, but it made it through the trip.
Yeah, our boat didn't come with a dinghy, and we had to sort of make it work, and we just bought like parts and put it together. We had to service the life vest, bought a water filter, bed sheets, batteries. We paid some surveyors to double check that the rigging would hold for the length of the trip, as well as the
keel bolts. Because the keel bolts were glassed over, and one of them was like not completely glassed over and looked rusty, and we didn't really know, so we paid someone to open it up.
They did a general inspection in the end, and they were like, go ahead, this is good for what you want to do. So for what we wanted to do, which was 4 months, we really didn't need to redo the rigging or redo other things. Like we could have bought new sails if we were sailing for 3 years, but we didn't have to do that. So that was cheap, and we were lucky that nothing else broke. In terms of things that broke on our boat, the major was that engine part.
Some part of the drive that had no cost.
That was very cheap to repair. We replaced the batteries at some point, and
just one.
We also spent money on dinghy patches and glue, the spark plug for the outboard engine.
A bunch of spark plugs. It ate spark plugs. I don't know why.
It was like boom, boom, boom. Cables for solar panels and connectors, and then we bought a new battery, the navigation light that we replaced, 2-component glue, duet tape, fuses, engine oil, engine coolant, the solar panel that was $50 secondhand.
Just engine maintenance, really.
Yeah.
We bought a secondhand solar panel to get more charging power.
So as you can see, it's some boat maintenance and repair, but nothing major, like things that you would do like on a monthly basis.
This would be more on a big boat. You have to register a boat to be allowed to go through customs and so on. It needs to be registered in a country. It doesn't need to be the country where you're from. Some countries allow you to just register a boat under their flag because you will pay them for that. And the one that is the easiest is Poland. You just send them money, which in total we spent on this, how much? $400, and we had a Polish, I don't think we ever lifted a Polish flag. But.
No, but we had a Polish registration that allowed us to enter new countries, which, like we said before, it was 17 different ones.
Paid for party insurance. That is if you damage someone else's boat. Then the other thing is you can insure your own boat, which is, well, if you sink it or you lose it, it burns, whatever, and you survive, you might want to avoid that this financially ruins you. In our case, this is not the case because the cost of the boat would not mean financial ruin for us. It would just be very sad. So we just tried to avoid it.
Because it was under $10,000 the boat.
In this time is also health insurance, which is, what are they called? True traveler.
We started with a full deposit in Grenada, St. George. Then we didn't have to refill all the way until Martinique for the France. We refilled again in San Martin, Marigot, and then in Puerto Rico, Puerto Real, and then in Dominican Republic, Luperon. In somewhere in the Bahamas, we also must have refilled. When we were refilling the tank, we were also getting some gas for the dinghy.
Usually, yeah. And that's
so
very
it's
little.
both, yeah. Regarding marinas versus anchoring, we anchored most of the time. Literally in 4 months, we only visited 3 marinas. So three days of marinas. The first one was Puerto Bahia in Dominican Republic, as somebody said it was so amazing. It was our first longer passage.
It was supposed to be cheap.
And cheap, and it is the best marina we've stayed, like hands down. We also went to the Luperon Marina.
To get water, something like that. I think it was also very cheap and we needed water, so we went to the marina.
Yeah. And then the last one, we had to go because there was a storm coming, like a cold front.
And no protection.
And there was no protection in the Bahamas, so we had to pay a lot of money. I don't remember how much it was, but it was a lot, like $200 or something for a night. In the Crooked Island Marina in the Bahamas. The positive things of that marina is that the cook was the best cook in the Bahamas, and we loved tuna grits, which is a Bahamian staple, and also some lobster. I mean, this was like so good. If you want to do it cheap, you anchor, and that's for free. And yes, sometimes there's like a natural park. I think it's like counted times. I think we went to Tobago Cays in San Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, the Pitons, Chateau Belair in St. Lucia as well, and then Le Saint Guadeloupe. Those were the only spots where we had to pay for mooring because they were natural parks. But
so you are not allowed to anchor, and the marine buoy costs money. Because we stopped in almost every country on the way, so that's like the fees that you pay those officials for the checking in and checking out processes.
Regarding groceries, what we did is we did big shopping trips where we buy like a lot and in where it was cheap. In Grenada,
Martinique, we went to Fort-de-France, and in Saint Martin, which is also France. The French have a law that the supermarket cannot be more expensive in any part of France, which includes those places, Martinique and Saint Martin.
So we would pay like as if we were in Europe, in France. Then Ponce in Puerto Rico, we also did a big stop there, and as well in Luperon, Dominican Republic. With those big shopping trips, we were mostly served, and then like we were just buying fruits and veg in many
fresh fruit mostly. Like
Bahamas is super expensive, so that's why we shopped in Dominican Republic, and then we tried to shop as little as possible in the Bahamas. We also ate out sometimes, not that often, but we did, and that is also part of our
how much did we spend on eating out?
Yeah, so we had to buy a SIM card in Grenada, in St. Lucia, in Martinique, 2 in Martinique, Puerto Rico, Samana, and Bahamas. Anyways, that was a mess. We wouldn't do it like this again.
You would update your iPhone the next time.
Yes.
Here's the final pie chart where you can see all the expenses in one place.
Fun stats. Laundry. How often did we do laundry? We obviously didn't have a washing machine on board, so we just had to do it seldomly. More or less twice a month we did laundry, if it is a stat. We did about 20 water refills, which is about 5 water refills a month, which is about a water refill a week.
Makes sense.
So if you count about 1 water refill a week and you have to make it last for a week, we would do this shower technique where we would like swim in the sea and then remove the seawater with a towel, and then Rick was fine like that, but I was sometimes taking like a cap and throwing it on me in the end. That was the normal shower, and then every now and then we would do proper showers with like soap and had about 3 to 4 proper showers a month. like running water, and like we'd like go to a marina where they have like a hose, and then we'd do that proper. So one proper shower with soap a week, and the others we just like jump in the sea and do it quickly with little water. Altogether, it was very, very worth it. I'm thinking back of that trip every day. What brought us like the peace of mind of like being surrounded by sea for 4 months, having time to read, to just be in the moment. Strongly recommend. We're already thinking of our next trip, and thanks for watching.